Hi class. So today we're gonna be doing this slideshow. The title is "Are Viruses Alive?" And don't mind my slideshow. I pick whatever I like. It doesn't follow one theme. Okay. Learning objectives here. We have the first learning objective is explain the traditional use of viruses. Second is evaluate evidence supporting viruses as living entities. Then we have the our third objective is describe virus contribution to evolution, and then we have analyze Forter's definition of life. Okay, then let's talk about our first learning objective: traditional views of viruses. Viruses were long considered non-living organisms because they ribosome, like independent metabolism, cannot reproduce without a host cell, exists as inert virus outside cells. That's why they were at the beginning they were considered non-living organisms, and that was the tradition. Okay, and then why viruses were excluded from life if plants were included in the living specimen? Why did viruses were not? Okay, we're gonna classify the definitions of why they might they were excluded. It has cellular organism, metabolism, homeostasis, independent reproduction. Viruses appear to fill this criterion. Okay, so they didn't have a metabolism. They don't have a cellular organization. And homeostasis. What's homeostasis is the positive and negative way to establish everything. Okay, and the most important one was independent reproduction. Like they couldn't um reproduce independently. They cannot reproduce independently. Okay, and then we had the discovery of giant viruses. We have some examples of these: Mimi virus, Pandora virus, virus. This virus possess large genomes in genes previously thought unique of the cellular organisms. And then we have recent discoveries that change the paradigm. Um, Viral factors inside cells, external viral genetic diversity. Viral genes involved in translation related functions, complex virus host interactions. So all of these started making us think that virus might be a living organism instead of a non-living organism. And then we have the viruses and their evolution. First, virus influence evolution through horizon gene transfer. So they started to transfer genome innovation. I've been hearing this a lot on the news, but see, getting to know our genomes and influence in the way we view viruses. And this yellow one is subjective pressure on host. Like every host has a virus uh reacts different, but back in the day they thought everybody would react the same and viruses would not evolve, but they're evolving with whoever their whoever their host is. And then we had creation of genetic diversity. Now there's a lot of viruses. There's a whole list. And then we have viruses as drivers of cellular evolution. Evidence suggests that, sorry, evidence suggests viral genes have contributed to eukaryotic evolution, immune system development. This is an important one because people believe that if you cut a virus, you start becoming immune to it, and next time you get it, it's not gonna hurt you as bad as the first time. Like COVID, people are saying that people started to draw immune to COVID-19, and that if they catch it, it might not, they might not feel the same symptoms that they did on the first one. Okay, and then genome restructuring, adaptation to mechanisms like the viruses are adapting to their environment. Okay, then we have virus versus virion. Okay, virus is completely biological cycle, and then virion is an extracellular transmission particle. Forgery are, and like on the article we read, forgery argues confusing these terms contributed to misconception about viral life. So confusing these two, virus and virion, brought it that to made it difficult for us to know which one, where to put virus, and we ended up putting it on the wrong um side as a non-living organism when it is actually a living organism. Then we had the viral factory concept. During infections, virus created intracellular viral factories where genomes genome replicates occur, viral protein are produced, new variants are assembled. So viruses contributed to these three. And then we have how definition of virus has changed in modern times, and now like the definition of virus focus on replication cycles, evolution capacity, virus host system, active intracellular stages. So this change since back in the day got to believe that viruses were a non-living organism. And then virus as living entities. Okay, inside cell viruses express. This is what we believe now. Viruses express genes, replicate genomes, evolve rapidly. This is an important one because once you cut a virus, and you pass it on to somebody, you could have passed it to somebody that would pass an evolved virus. You didn't pass, probably didn't pass the same virus. Okay, and then reorganize cellular process, like everything had to be reorganized to make it a living entity. And then ribosomes encoding organisms. Cellular encoding organism encode ribosomes. Examples we have bacteria, archaea, and eukaryotes. And then capsid encoding organisms. Viruses encode capsids rather than ribosomes. In the article we read Fortery response that CEOs represent a parallel parallel form of biological organization. And I believe this is correct because we had the CEO, and then we have a bunch of like little people that like a draft that keeps spreading and spreading until like the last. We have a pyramid. That's what I'm trying to say. We had a pyramid, and I think viruses work like this. Okay. And then a new definition of life. Life is a proper. They change this to new. Life is a property of organisms capable of producing evolving population. Evolution becomes the key criteria for the definition of life. And then how Porter defines organisms. Uh, this is how the article author picture how we how he defined organisms. And for him, an organism is an entity that participates in a lineage capable of evolution and reproduction. So anything that can reproduce and evolve can be an organism. And then implications for the original life. Life may have emerged from population of evolving replicators before modern cells existed. And then strengths and criticisms. Strengths explain viral complexity. The strengths of this article was like viral complexity, recognize evolutionary importance, and criticisms. Virus remains host dependent, lack autonomous metabolism. And then my conclusion was Forters argued that viruses should be viewed as living entities when considered across their full life cycle, not just at the beginning or the end. The debate challenges traditional definitions of life and expands our understanding of biological evolution. And that's it for my video. I will see you on the next video. Bye.